Welcome to People Power. My name is Joshua Mukumo and I'm your host. People Power is made possible by unity, and unity is made possible by collectivism. And collectivism is maintained and kept intact by the willingness to reconcile whenever we are in conflict with one another. This makes reconciliation an important ingredient of unity in People Power. That's why today we are going to talk about the importance of reconciliation. And to do just that, we are joined in the studio today by the one and only Pastor Tsepo Malaji. And he's not just a pastor, he's also a professional optometrist. Pastor Tsepo, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Pastor Joshua, for hosting us this afternoon.
Yeah. Today we're going to talk about the importance of reconciliation. And we're going to start by asking you to tell us, what is reconciliation?
Reconciliation obviously comes after there's been a conflict in terms of ideas, views that could have maybe led to a breakdown in terms of communication and a relationship.
Yes.
So when we speak about reconciliation, is a situation whereby two people or two groups should be able to come back and address issues in order to find a neutral ground and be able to continue with the relationship that might have broken down during the conflict.
Yeah, this means that these two individuals must be able to find common ground amongst different views of a common thing.
Definitely, that's basically the thing.
Okay, so since people power, it's something that is driven by unity amongst a group of people. So how does reconciliation relate to a group of people that is working together to achieve something?
Normally, if you are a team or a group, obviously in most instances in a team, there will always be different views and ideas.
Yeah.
So, both ideas and the views are there to be able to push the team or the group to achieve a certain particular goal.
Yeah.
Normally, people will differ in terms of how they think the goal can be best achieved.
Exactly.
Normally, there are many ways to kill a cat.
Yeah.
And most of the time, you find that the other one feels like their idea is superior to the other one. And in a group setting, normally, you will always mostly have two leaders.
Yeah.
Somebody will say this, there are those who will back him up, and then somebody will come up with another idea or a view, and there are those that will back him up. So you end up having two groups in the same team.
Yeah.
And this very team should be able to work together to achieve one goal, because the most important thing here is that there's a goal and we all want to be able to achieve that goal. And in most instances, because if there's a goal that we have set for ourselves, we become very passionate about, we become very zealous about it.
Yeah.
We'll try to throw in everything to try and make sure we are able to achieve that particular goal. And in most instances, the conflict comes when the other one thinks we can best achieve it in this way, and the other one think we can best achieve it this way. So in those instances, that's where we are supposed to try and accommodate. Sometimes it's both ideas and see how we can merge them so that we can be able to achieve that particular goal. And sometimes through debates and stuff, we're able to see that maybe what I might have thought could best make us achieve the goal might not be the best method we should deploy. And in most instances, there could be one that says, no, but it's fine, I can withdraw. Let's back up yours so that at least we can be able to achieve that particular goal.
And does this put reconciliation right at the center of everything?
Definitely. Reconciliation becomes very pivotal in that instance, because that's where we are supposed to find a neutral ground so that we can be able to move on. Because if we don't, I'm telling you the truth, all our efforts and everything will be in vain.
Exactly. And in most cases, if you can check, there are certain things that prevent reconciliation from taking place. We can call them enemies of reconciliation. So what are those enemies of reconciliation?
Definitely. In terms of reconciliation, the two parties should be able to go back and do what we call self-introspection.
Yes.
Like the pride of life can be very, 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 very dangerous in most instances,
Yes.
more especially where you are supposed to maybe sit down and relook at things.
Yeah.
Because now the most important thing, it's not about who is right and who is wrong. In most instances, that's why I mentioned the issue of pride. Pride, it can be very dangerous because most of the time you think whatever you are thinking is superior to the thought of the other person, or your idea is superior to the idea of the other person.
Exactly.
But if I'm able to sit down and say, but look, I mean, it doesn't matter, I may not necessarily have been wrong, but here is my brother, and we are traveling this journey together, or we are pursuing the very same goal.
Yeah.
Can't I at least compromise in this instance, so that we can be able to reach the goal? And the other thing of always thinking I'm right, I've come to realize there's not even a single person that can say I'm perfect. That's why we need to develop ourselves time and again. And developing, I'm not necessarily meaning only academically and other spheres of life, but also being able to understand that things that are, the way I see things today may not necessarily be the perfect way of how things are.
Yeah.
I still need to develop myself. I still need to understand that I'm still learning. Some of the things I will make mistakes. Some of the things that I will say today, tomorrow I may regret why I said them. And that way you grow. You never cease growing. And that is the reason why you can never be too confident in your own thinking and think you know it all.
Exactly. And since you mentioned pride, there's something that causes this enemies of reconciliation to exist inside of people. What are those things that causes or gives birth to enemies of reconciliation inside a person?
Normally, as a pastor, we know that a human being is made in three parts.
Yeah.
And that is your spirit, and there is your body, your soul, and that's your body.
Yeah.
So in most instances, our spirits are sharper. They actually comprehend things far much better than our souls, which is our minds, can.
Yeah.
In most instances.
Exactly.
So whenever the issues, the enemies of reconciliation comes into the picture, normally those are the things that will attack your mind and not necessarily your spirit. Because in most instances, your spirit will knows what is right for you. It's just that because we are trapped in these mortal bodies, and then in most instances, our souls takes precedence, in most instances, and most of our decision makings and our behavior in particular. And that is why most of the time the enemies of reconciliation can just take over, and you feel, no, I am right, he or she is wrong. No, my idea is perfect, his or hers is not as perfect as mine. And that is where the issue of pride comes into the picture. Because naturally, when God created us, he created us with the spirit of humility, the spirit of understanding, the spirit of discernment, where you are able to discern. It's never, you'll never get into a point whereby you say, I'm 100% sure I'm right. If you get yourself in that kind of an incident, then you get to have a problem. In most instances, it's always good.
Yeah, sorry to come in. There's something that I normally see happen amongst people. When a person is still at a certain level where they haven't achieved much, they are very easy to work with. Whenever they are wrong, they will admit. But then as they grow into other levels of success, it becomes very difficult to relate with other people. Even reconciliation, they don't value it as much.
That is basically the thing. Because, once you start achieving in your life, you get to a point, more especially if you are not careful, because we need to be careful of ourselves.
Yeah.
We can be dangerous to our own selves. Once you start achieving, and in most instances, I want to believe that, the moment the Lord or God will start, opening things up for you, is because He has got that much confidence, that you can be able to handle these things.
Yeah.
And they won't swell up your ego, so that at the end of the day, you don't even want to listen to anyone. In most instances, I know I've done it many a times where I will apologize, even when I know definitely it's not necessarily because I've done something wrong, but for the sake of reconciliation, because I know unity is power.
Exactly.
So, and in most instances, if the devil can be able to isolate you and set you apart, it is very easy for him to deal with you, or even to destroy you. Yeah. For the same, with the same material gains or achievements in life that God has given you, in order so that it can make you better. Actually, when you start achieving more, you must be more humble. But it's unfortunate, Moruti, like you are saying, in most instances, when people start achieving, they become very difficult to deal with. Exactly. They become very difficult to work with. They belittle everyone, and they think their opinions matters more than any other person's opinion, because they've got money.
Exactly. Which now brings us to the question, can we live without reconciliation? Surely
we cannot live without reconciliation. Remember what happened in the Garden of Eden when Adam fell into sin and he became the enemy of God. Yeah. And so that's, he did his offspring. So, but God, being the offended, had to come up with an initiation to reconcile. In the time past, will use sacrifices and everything to appease the anger of God and try and bring mankind back to God. And God realized those were temporary measures. He wanted to permanently reconcile with the human being. Weak as he is, God sent his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ. That was the biggest sacrifice that have ever been made on the planet Earth or in history. God sacrificed Christ so that he can be able to reconcile back with us. And he doesn't necessarily need anything from us. We don't reconcile with people because we think we'll need them in the future, or maybe we need anything from them. That takes us back to what you said, that once you start achieving, because you may not necessarily knock at my door and say, my brother, I'm short of 1, 2, 3. You can do it yourself. We don't reconcile because we need anything from the people that we reconcile with. We reconcile for our own sanity, for our own, benefit, because once you reconcile with people, your spirit is in the right place, and you'll be able to live a better life.
Yeah. So then what do we lose whenever we refuse to reconcile with people that we get in conflict with?
By the end of the day, if you don't reconcile with people that you are conflicted with, the thing is you remain bitter, because at the back of your mind, you still believe you are offended, or they didn't treat you well, or they don't give you the respect that you think you deserve, and all those many other kind of things. So the first thing that you lose is your health. When you are in conflict with people, bitterness will bring about your typical hypertension, and you expose yourself to a lot of chronic diseases like your diabetic mellitus and all those many other kind of things, because stress is very dangerous. Actually, stress is the common cause of a lot of sicknesses and diseases that we see people going through. And beside health issues, you're opening up yourself to demonic attacks to a larger extent. You need to be in the right space. You need to be at peace with everyone. If you are, more especially if you claim you have got, a relationship with God, you cannot be having a relationship with God and yet at the same time you are conflicted to other people. That's why the Bible says, even when you go and give, pause first, think about whoever you're conflicted with, reconcile with them first. And then you can be able to take out your offering, and the Lord will gladly accept it. If you don't do it, you are doing it in vain.
Exactly. So in terms of relations with people, whenever one refuses to reconcile, What is it that they are losing? Because as you know, you can't live this life alone. You need other people. You need their help. So whenever you refuse to reconcile and tell yourself that I can do this alone, I've got enough resources, what exactly are you losing? What is it that you are losing which you will later need in life?
You know, I'll go back to the Bible. The reason why God created a human being is because of companionship and fellowship.
Exactly.
If you lose that, you can have all the money, you can, have everything, all the riches and everything. But if you lose that, I'm telling you the truth, you will live an unfulfilled life. So you will practically lose that fellowship. You'll lose self-fulfillment by yourself. It doesn't matter how big you think you are or how much you have achieved in life. But if you lose that, then at the end of the day, you won't even be able to enjoy whatever you have told yourself that you've achieved in life.
Exactly. So what is it that can enable us as human beings to be able to initiate reconciliation whenever there is a conflict? Because there's pride, there's egos in people. So what is it that needs to be in place in order for people to be able to open up for reconciliation to take place whenever there's a conflict?
As human beings, we should always sit ourselves down. It's different when a person sits you down, they want to talk to you. You need to be able to sit yourself down. Do what we call self-introspection and understand that you are not perfect. You have got your own imperfections to a large extent. And that becomes a very powerful tool to say, whatever I'm thinking today, however I feel about myself today, is not necessarily, the reality of how things are, because the way I see things might have shifted tomorrow, or because the way I used to see things before, now I look back, like I told you, I look back and regret why I did some of the things, why I said some of the things, but it's because I was still young, but I'm still developing. As human beings, we must come to accept that we are a work in progress. We are not as yet as perfect as God will want us to be. At some point in time, the elder people will tell you, with the experience that they have in life, some of the things that you do now, they will tell you, but this won't end well. But that time is still exciting to you. You feel you are big, you feel you are important, you feel you don't need anybody. But at some point in time, you sit down and realize, I've gathered all the riches of the world and everything, but I've got no one. So that in itself, when you start to sit down and tell yourself, I have got my own imperfections, that will help you a lot. That will assist you a lot.
Exactly.
Yes.
There's the power of introspections.
Yeah. Self-introspection in particular.
So it basically opens the door for reconciliation.
Definitely, because you start to realize that, you have not been doing things right. There could be people that you might have treated badly. Even in this instance, you still feel you are not wrong, but you start to realize that there are some people that you might have treated badly, and not necessarily because you were deliberately doing it. So maybe because by that time you were thinking that's the right thing to do. And sometimes we do things because we are under pressure. Sometimes it's peer pressure. Sometimes we also just put ourselves under pressure, maybe to impress, or maybe even to prove to ourselves, our own self-worth, and in the process we end up stepping people on the toes and stuff. But the moment you start to realize that will be able to open you up to say, but you know what, he might not have done it deliberately, or he might not even aware that this is wrong, but at the same time, he still remains my brother, or she still remains my sister.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So what is it that we can achieve by always being free-spirited to reconcile whenever there is a conflict?
The achievement is great, my brother. Like I said, you will be able to live in harmony with everyone. It might not be practically possible, but you must understand that, the fact that maybe some people are not living in harmony with you might not necessarily mean you are not living in harmony with them. because
Yeah.
it might be otherwise, because there are people who will just refuse to reconcile. Irrespective of how much you try to reconcile with them, they just want to prove a point, or they just want to make you feel, that they are bigger, they are more better than you, and all those many other kind of things. So it happens in most instances. But if you yourself, whenever there is a conflict, you are able to reach out. You might either be received, or some people, it may take them time to come to realize, but this conflict is not doing us any good, but you should have taken the first step. So the benefit is you'll be able to live in peace and in harmony, and there are health benefits, there are spiritual benefits to it.
It basically works on both sides of life.
Definitely, in all spheres of life, it sets you up.
Yeah, because a lot of people, reconciliation doesn't mean anything to them. As long as they have enough for themselves, they think reconciliation is just a way of time. It's actually something that is below them. What can you say to such a person?
Yeah, I know they are arrogant people who tell themselves that they are self-sufficient, they are self-righteous, and they don't need anybody to make it in life. But that's not how God created us. That's why after God created Adam, quickly he decided to make Eve out of him, because he understood that Adam alone cannot be able to make it or live and be comfortable on earth. Exactly. You could have just made Adam, and then Adam had power over everything, the animals, the birds, and everything. But he decided, Adam, it is not good for a man to be alone. It goes back to that. It's not only in marriage, but also in companionship, in relationship, in teamwork, in organization, and everything. A man should not be able to live alone. Even if you are a leader in a company or in an organization, you will still need your subordinates.
Yeah, while you're still on leaders, there are a lot of leaders who tend to despise reconciliation. Whenever they are wrong, they always say, well, I can replace you any day, anytime. Basically, I can do without you.
Yeah, those kind of leaders are very dangerous to the organization, and are also very dangerous to themselves.
Yeah.
In the process, because they actually never sit down and look at the bigger picture. Because it's not all about people being replaceable or not being replaceable. As a leader, you must understand your duty, beside being a boss, is to develop your subordinates. Somewhere, somehow, as a leader, when you leave an organization or a company, you should be able to leave 2-3 people that should they be put in your position, they can be able to spearhead the company or the organization to greater heights because of the leadership impartation that you have done to them. But if you get to that point where you say, I can replace you anytime, it simply means you are not even imparting anything into these people, because you don't see them as an asset to the company or to the organization. Because if you are a great leader, you should be able to see spot potential in some of your subordinates whom we can be able to train, so that should you decide to resign or leave or retire, they can be able to take the ship and spearhead the ship to greater heights, even higher than you have placed it.
Exactly.
Yes.
So this one, I think even you and me see it almost every other day happen in everyday life. It's much easier for children to reconcile than it is for adults. Children can fight, and then 30 minutes later they are back, they've reconciled, it's over and done with. But then with adults, reconciliation, it's more like having to move a mountain from point A to point B. Why is it like that?
Yeah, well, with children, remember, when kids are born, they still attached to their spirituality to a large extent. It takes us back to the 3 parts.
Exactly.
And that is why even Jesus said, we should have a faith like a child's faith. It's because children are not yet in a place where their carnal men will take them over, and they don't have a point to prove. They don't have ego to protect, because most of the time we think we are protecting our own egos and all those many other kind of things when we're refusing to reconcile, while we're actually killing ourselves in so many ways, like I've told you. So with children, it's very easy because, somewhere, somehow, they still, closer to their spirituality. That's why those that are saved and are spirit-filled, if we are to see the fruits of the Spirit in them, we should be able to see them reconciling without much difficulty, because the Spirit is always willing, to reconcile. It's always willing to place people where they are actually supposed to be, because it is in our spiritual nature to reconcile and have companion and have that fellowship that God has always intended for us. That's why it's easy for children to reconcile. They can fight now. 5 minutes later, they are best of friends, and they've forgotten about just the fight that they've just had.
Exactly. And you'll notice that if we can have that viewpoint of things amongst adults, the world will be a much, much better place to live in. So how can we achieve that amongst grown-up people?
Amongst grown-up people, like I told you, we should realize we are not immune to mistakes.
Yeah.
We make mistakes, and the way we think, it's not the best. It's not, it's not better than the other person, and all that. So for us to be able to achieve that, I think people should, get in touch with their spirituality. It's quite very important, because somewhere, somehow, even when you are in conflict with the other person, in your spirit is yearning. That's why Paul says the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. The spirit is yearning for reconciliation, but your flesh, because now pride of life and ego and self-righteousness is so much taken you over, you feel you'll be making a fool out of yourself if you agree to reconcile, or if you initiate reconciliation and make sure that you are back at a place where you're supposed to be. Most of the time, our flesh overcomes us. If we could allow our spirits to lead in most instances. I know for most people it will be very difficult, because they don't even understand what I'm talking about. But we gave some, few pointers and few hints to say sometimes you just need to sit down with yourself. Sit yourself down. Think, okay, fine. Am I immune to making mistakes? Is my opinion that superior to the other person's opinion? Do I make mistakes? Can another person make a mistake, maybe inadvertently, or maybe without them being conscious that the fact that they are making mistakes? Sometimes when you reconcile, you may reconcile and you might have helped that particular person, because the person might not have been aware all along that what they are doing is wrong. You might have just helped them even for the future.
Yeah, it's true. So a lot of people view the act of initiating reconciliation as a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why they don't initiate reconciliation, because they don't want to appear weak to the next person.
And that is dangerous, my brother, so to say. God is love. And the way God has made us, He has made us to respond to love so easily. So in most instances, if I love you, because you are not in conflict with people because you hate them. If I love you as my brother, or as my friend, or as my co-worker, or as a fellow community member, it should be very easy for me to be able to take initiatives. And normally it's not weakness when you take initiative for reconciliation. It shows strong leadership personality, skills in you. Because in most instances, when you look at the high rate of divorce, people, the relationships that breaks down, even if it's love relationships and everything, pride takes precedence. I cannot go to him. Why can't he come to me? Why can't she come to me? It doesn't matter how many times you're going to have to do it. But you have to realize, if you are friends or if you are married or you are a couple, you must realize there will always be a leader. And in some instances, you might be a wife and still at the same time, God has gifted you with the gift of being a leader. You should be able to take an initiative and make sure that whenever there's a breakdown in relations, then you are the one who is able to go and say, but don't you think we can be able to work this thing out this way? Exactly. Don't you think we can do things this way? Don't you think we can resolve this? Instead, most of the time, people that divorces is because it's other way. It's not weakness when you initiate. It's a weakness when you stay with your pride, and you rather walk away instead of reconciling.
Exactly. Because they view it as weakness, because when they refuse to initiate, there's something inside which seems to be satisfied that, look, I'm strong, I cannot go to that person and ask for forgiveness. But then in reality, you are the weakest person in the room.
It's true. It's the contrary. The weakness is when you feed that beast, that enemy that is within you that want you to just walk away, or keep the conflict alive, and you feel you have won. You have not won, because in a long time, you are the one who will be able to, you will come to regret why you didn't make that particular initiative. Because, God has made us leaders. In so many ways. You don't have to be elected to be a leader. In a friendship, there will always be a leader. There will always be that person who will be able to give guidance. And you don't only give guidance so that people can see you are to show that you have got a high level of calibration. I know we're not talking about the levels of calibration today, but the level of calibration is the balance of things, emotional intelligence, and so many other things. Exactly. I'm sure we'll be able to come and talk about that the other time. But emotional intelligence also plays a very big part in this whole thing, because you don't allow your emotions to cloud your judgment, more especially during that time of a conflict, because some people will take forever to resolve issues, but by the time they resolve issues, a lot of things have spiraled out of control, and that becomes a problem. You resolve issues, but you still need to go and try and recollect things and put things back into perspective. But if you're emotionally mature, you will understand. You don't become so myopic. You are able to see far beyond today and the conflict that you have. You are actually able to see the bigger picture even when it's cloudy. That's powerful. I like that.
Again, we are Africans, and as Africans, you know very well that people who are elders in the community, if they happen to step on the toes of a younger person, they are never willing to go there and ask for forgiveness. In fact, a very important relationship between a parent and a child can break down because of the pride of a parent who's refusing to say, look, my son or my daughter, I was wrong and I'm sorry.
Yeah, that is a very serious challenge, because it's very easy for an elderly person to say, I'm old, I know everything. But if they go back and realize that as long as they're still breathing, they have not yet achieved. They are still growing to a larger extent. So they are not immune to making mistakes, and they are not immune to wrongly offend the younger ones. If our elderly people can come to realize that, I think things are going to be better, because in most instances it happens between children and the parents feels like, I know it all. This one, I gave birth to him, I gave birth to her, so I cannot listen to reason, or I cannot apologize even when they know they were wrong.
Exactly, and it happens quite a lot, almost across the whole of our country. It's just like that. It's almost like as if all the elders are siblings. They do things exactly the same way when it comes to resolving conflict with a younger person.
It's a mentality. As pastors, we know we come across these things almost every day. We deal with these things almost every day. You sit these people down and you can hear the elder one doesn't budge, even though they can hear that they were at the wrong. And it becomes a very serious challenge, because most of the time they regret when it's late. It's not good to wait for a regret. If you open up to reconciliation, if you open up to own up when you were wrong, then you are fixing things now so that in the future you cannot be sitting down and regretting why you didn't reconcile or why you didn't ask for forgiveness when you had a perfect opportunity to do it.
Exactly, because when they refuse to reconcile, they're actually putting in jeopardy something that is very, very important. Guidance from a parent to a child, and also from a child to a parent. It could be support, financial support, or whichever support that will make the life of an aging parent easier. Such things are put in jeopardy, and they are very, very important to both parties.
You're right. That's quite very critical. So that's why I'm saying our elderly people should actually wake up. They are not God. They are older, but they are not God. It's only God who doesn't make mistakes. As long as you are a human being, you are still trapped in the flesh, you are bound to make mistakes. That is basically the thing.
Exactly. So lastly, for the younger person, how must he or she convey the message to an elder that, hey, we did not pass well there. Can we please fix that one?
Yeah, that's quite very important. Now it's the issue of an approach. How do you approach the issue? Because most of the time this whole thing is exacerbated by approach. Because when we approach elderly people, we should understand that firstly they know they are older and probably they think they are right. So because they think they are right, you should get a better way of approaching the issue without even trying to cause more trouble, because the main aim is to show them where they have erred. Is not necessarily to judge them or whatsoever, but is to show them that whatever they didn't sit well with you, and as a result you will want a situation whereby there's a reconciliation so that life can be able to continue smoothly.
Yeah, it's true. And then how is reconciliation a selfless act?
Yeah, reconciliation is a selfless act because it's practically an act of love, like I said.
Yeah.
You reconcile with people because you love them, and because that is the nature of God, and God imparted that very nature in us, because we are the images of God, not necessarily physically, but in our spirits. We share the very same DNA and the same character of God, which is love. So if you allow it to blossom in you, it's going to be very easy for you to be able to reconcile with people, even those that have wronged you. Because it's not only those that you have wronged, even those that you have wronged them, who have wronged you. You are able to actually bring them to light so that they can be able to see whatever they did is not right, and next time they can do things better, or differently.
Yeah, this means that refusing to reconcile is a selfish move.
It's a very selfish move on yourself and on the people that you relate to.
Yeah. Because a lot of people say that they are not selfish, but then when you look at their actions in times of reconciliation, you see something totally opposite.
Definitely. It is a selfish act to refuse to reconcile. It doesn't matter. That's why I gave you an example with God to say we wronged him, but he went an extra mile to make sure that there's a reconciliation. And we are alive today, most of us, because of that very decision that God made to reconcile with us. If he didn't reconcile with us, I don't know where would we be today. Most of us could probably be in jail, if not dead.
Exactly. So lastly, what reconciliation message can you give to the people that are watching?
To all the viewers, you should understand that reconciling have got serious benefits on you. Firstly, health-wise, spiritual-wise, and many other spheres and facets of your life. If you refuse to reconcile, you are actually refusing your freedom. Somewhere, somehow, like I said, even in the Holy Scriptures, before you can even give your offering, you should also pause, you should be able to pause and say, but who have I offended? Who am I in conflict with? Can't I make it right before I give to God? You can see how much God himself, the creator of heavens and the earth, values reconciliation. Your health in itself, your body in itself, your cells, your tissues, they respond very well to reconciliation. Once you reconcile, the levels of tensions and stress and bitterness goes down. You can be surprised how miraculously your hypertension has disappeared, how miraculously your sugar level is all of a sudden under control, how miraculously your arthritis now start to behave while you know that it was always problematic to you, and how miraculously now you are no longer being chased by ghosts when you are sleeping, because somewhere, somehow, this thing incites and invites demons into your life because of bitterness. So there are a lot of benefits. And besides spirituality and health, being in good terms with people is always beneficial. Somewhere, somehow, if you are in an organization, you are in good terms with your people. Even if you can be a leader, you are in good terms with your subordinates. I'm telling you, your life will be the best life ever. Reconciliation, it's best. Do it at every cost. Try by all means to set aside your pride and tell yourself, I'm gonna do the right thing because I need my brother, I need my sister, I need my friend, I need my fellow community man.
Thank you very much. And I like the fact that you actually balance the two, both spiritual and physical. And thank you very much for joining us today for this wonderful subject of the importance of reconciliation.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Wonderful. In order to get unlimited access of these wonderful episodes of People Power, please click the subscribe button down over here on the screen. And thank you very much for watching. Bye.